Okay, so the Bible says that God, when we give to God our attention or anything else, whatever it is that we put in God's hands, we're going to get back. Not only what are we going to get back what we put in, but we're going to get way more than that. You're going to get a lap full is what God says. You're going to get an excess. It's going to pour over. God's going to give you more. Let's go a little further. It says the amount that you give will determine the amount that you'll get back. That's a peculiar statement and is actually separate from the first statement. He says, you know what? In direct proportion, the capacity that you have to carry away from this is directly connected to what you put into it. When I first moved out of my mom and dad's house, I moved into a duplex down on Gum Street, North Little Rock. I was 1 block from the Silver City Courts. I don't know if any of y'all are familiar with the Silver City Courts. Awesome neighborhood. If you want to run at night, it's a great place to run at night and stuff like that. Anyway, I lived there, and one of the 2 things I recognized right off the bat was that when I moved out on my own, number one, groceries are expensive, okay? And cooking is a lot of work. Okay, because there's all the cleanup and everything, right? You know what I'm talking about? I mean, I had 1 metal plate and a chipped Razorback cup. I mean, it was tough. But what I realized is that every time that my family would have some kind of get-together, there was always food included. I don't know why, but it was. Here's what else I learned, is if you play the pity party role and you come into this thing as the poor, pitiful bachelor, just got out of your place, you get to take food home with you. Good food, tasty food. Free food. It was all good. And I remember we were at Thanksgiving one time and my aunt said, listen, let's send some of this food home with Scott. And I was like, yeah, never thought about it. Absolutely, let's do that. So sure enough, she pulls out her, but what I realized is that when you're at the mercy of your aunts or your family, they don't give you good big dishes because they know they'll never get them back. They know that that's true. My house was like a black hole. Whatever went there never came out. And so they would give you, you'd walk away with like these 2 little dishes, like a little wad of dressing and a little piece of turkey, and I realized, man, and there was all this left over, but all I got was this. So what I learned is that if I would go to Walmart and invest in my own Tupperware and get the big family size, that I would walk away with lots of food. And so literally, I would show up at one of our family celebrations, I'd lay down my wrinkled up Kroger sack full of Tupperware, and I'd just say dibs. You know what I mean? I would give lectures on overeating and stuff, and I would talk to them and say, you don't need 2 scoops of that, you just need 1, because I knew the rest was going home with me. And I'd carry that stuff home. I would eat it until it turned into penicillin in my refrigerator. You know what I'm talking about? Looked like a Petri dish. It's the best ever. But here's what I learned. I learned that the proportion of what I could take home with me was in direct relationship to the size of the dish that I brought to take it home with me. Does that make sense? That's exactly what God's saying here. And here's what's really sad, is that for many of us come to God and we approach God with a little teacup and we don't expect to get anything more than that. And God, I'm sure, is disappointed from heaven at times and he goes, really? Had all this I want to give you and you come prepared like this? You bring a teacup when you should have brought your dump truck. I mean, I've got a load that I want to give you. I want to transform your life. I want to blow your mind about how big and how incredible of a God that I am. And you come with just wanting a handful, and that's too bad.